Hey, this is Doug Field, CEO of the Institute, and along with my co-host Ron Bachman, and welcome back to HealthCare Consumerism Radio. We're excited about this segment. We have one of our current corporate members, also a participant at last week's forum. We have on the phone with us today Kirk Hoewisch, who heads up sales and is co-founder of HSA Bank. Good morning, Kirk.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Did you recover from forum?
Oh, definitely. A good conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt, and thanks for being with us. I think today we kind of want to highlight, and you obviously can't, go through your whole presentation. I think you did a very interesting workshop on HSAs after 2014, and kind of highlight that for our audience, if you would, please.
Well, I don't see any direct threats to HSAs, which is good, but all the other components of the Obamacare causes some worry. It's been a waiting game from the beginning.
Yeah.
Main threat today is that the high deductible health plans that the HSAs depend on, and so we're just waiting now for the plan designs from the carriers. Will they offer qualified plans? Will the plans be competitive versus the richer plans? Will they be affordably enough versus penalties? Of course, we'll know all this the closer we get to October 1st. We did recently survey our brokers on healthcare reform, and obviously they're much closer to all this than we are. And 50% of them said that their high deductible business is expected to increase in 2014, while 30% would stay the same. So 80% overall, that's a pretty good indicator.
Yeah, it is. Very good indicator. How do you see the exchange impacting HSAs and high deductible?
I would think, from the exchange standpoint, I think, the public exchanges are they're meant to take a lot of the uninsured, although I think the penalties are set so low that that's going to be difficult, especially to pull in the, what you call the young invincibles.
Right.
But the small employers, I think that's where many of them, of course, don't pay the penalty below 50 employees, and so I think there's going to be a big shift for those. And the shop exchanges, I don't think are that, number one, they're not ready. Number
right.
two, the incentives for shop, I don't think, we're not seeing the incentives being quite good enough. So it's going to be a lot of individuals from formerly insured employers going to the exchange.
How do you see the private exchanges, Kurt? Are you engaged with some of the private exchanges?
Yeah, we have a lot of partners that are either GAs or benefit consultants that are setting up exchanges, and there we see what we think is most of them are going to still be employer sponsored, and therefore not the pure defined contribution like the public exchange side, meaning that the employer will still, they still have a role to play. But the reason they're doing that is to expand the choice offered to their employees and perhaps remove some of the administrative burden onto the exchange. So yeah, we expect to be participating with many of the private exchanges.
Kirk, it's Ron Bachman here. Tell us about the HSAs and the shop exchanges, the small employer public exchanges. They're not ready yet. They're put off, I guess, for a year. On HSAs, is it not true that the maximum deductible on those plans is supposed to only be $2,000? And is that below many of the HSA deductible plans?
Yeah, it is. And so, right, there is some concern there. There's a couple ways to look at it. One is, I believe, I'm not an expert. I mean, I'm trying to keep up and read as much as anyone else.
Right.
But it looks like in the shop exchanges, I believe the IRS allows, and some of the examples they used were that you could increase the deductible over that limit and then fund the HSA to net out at that value. So if you want to, if $2,000 is that net, you could have it maybe perhaps a $3,000 deductible with a $1,000 contribution to an HSA for a net impact, if I understand it correctly.
Okay. Well, tell us what you think is going to happen in terms of the private exchanges versus the public exchanges that Doug was asking about a minute ago. How do you see the differences in those two? Are we going to get different enrollments, different demographics, different types of industries? How do you see that shaking out? And is that a major point of sale for your products?
Yeah, that is key for us. Start with the private exchanges. Basically that they're going to be set up for the, by definition, the larger employer. What we would normally call the mid-size or large employer, anything 50 plus or 100 plus. But that market is really, I think, a lot of business as usual. They already either are self-insured or fully insured. They're not going to want to do anything to upset their employees. They're very, they tend to offer richer benefit plans and a lot of programs. And so I don't see, the only movement, what we expect there is to see a lot more self-insure. And this is obviously because they can control the cost better. And so they can implement a robust wellness plan that truly improves outcomes, and they can offer high deductible plans to create that financial incentive, and that put the skin in the game for the employee to actually improve that behavior. And so, you're going to see utilization drop. You're going to see premiums drop. You're going to see that's the real goal. Right. And so from the private exchange side, you're just going to see employers who are just going to leverage that to get more choice for their employees and offload some administrative. On the public side, that's where it's the, again, pure contribution. It's the small employer probably dumping all their employees, because there's no penalty to them. Are going to save a lot of money. That money they're going to save, they can go to a broker and now that broker is going to, instead of dealing with an employer, is going to be dealing with perhaps up to 50 employees, but kind of per member, some sort of fee-based approach. The small employer they're going to be able to afford it, and the broker should be able to set an amount that covers their costs with where they can actually actually provide the service at a benefit.
So you're saying with the public exchanges, many of the small employers, the under 50 employers, and under 50 employees for a given employer, they don't have any requirement under the law to provide insurance. So we know that there's a lot of uninsureds under 50 employees where the companies don't offer insurance. But those who do you see them, from what I heard you say, begin to drop the insurance that they have and just send their employees to the exchange, maybe providing some sort of a defined contribution, say, here's some money, go and do with it as you will? What do you see happening in that market? Is that a target market for you guys? Is that just something you're following, or your major market is really the private exchanges?
Well, I'd say our major market will be, where we see the, at least amount of damage, put it that way, is on the private exchange. The public exchange, we're not real sure. I mean, I think it goes back to, if I'm a small employer and fully insured, I already have a broker. Right. A broker I trust, a broker I depend on, and therefore I think it's a case-by-case scenario where, they'll look, but, there's going to be strong financial, I'm just saying there's strong financial incentives for a small employer to say, look, I can relieve myself of all this cost and hassle and put my employees on the public exchanges. I would say at that point, a broker can still be involved, but now it's an employee-by-employee basis, and they have to be comped for that. It's going to be more work, but I think that's doable.
And for your business, Kirk, like you said at the start of the segment, there's still a question mark about, what are the premium rates going to be around high deductible and qualified plans. But from an HSA standpoint, they are sitting okay inside a public exchange, correct?
Correct,
they are. And we just worry about the affordability versus penalty issue.
Kirk, the Institute obviously is a very strong supporter, and we've all been involved very early on in the development of both the laws and the regulations for HSAs and health reimbursement arrangements. we've seen some movement in rewarding and incentivizing people in other ways. Clearly, everything we see, the growth of HSAs continues to expand pretty rapidly. That's the core of your business. How do you see some of these other aspects, whether it's changing contribution rates or changing the deductible as an offset or other rewards and incentives besides putting money into an HSA account? How's that feeding into your business model and your projections of where the HSA type designs are going in the future?
Well, a lot of the the larger brokerage houses, the consulting firms, the Aon, Hewitt's, Towers, Watson, they of course are big believers in CDH, and they're the ones who are recommending, robust wellness. You even read a lot about using the stick approach versus carrot.
Right.
That it's and even Obamacare allows for some of that. I mean, they allow you can charge more for someone who smokes.
Right.
So those putting in again plans that really it's within the employer's total control to avoid Obamacare by self-insuring, adopting wellness, a really robust wellness program, and then instituting higher deductibles, put the employee skin in the game. That's the sweet spot that is really, there's plenty of studies to show that works, and the consultants that we obviously work with on a daily basis, that's the constant message that we're hearing. So that's what they're preaching to their clients if they really want to control costs. And of course, HSAs are a big part of that. So,
are you seeing more companies go to full replacement? What kind of penetration do companies have these days? How's that growing in terms of when they start off maybe as an option?
Yeah, if they don't. Yeah, I think I read somewhere where 15% of employers have gone full replacement, and I would say that from our partners, that's about right in terms of what we see in terms of business we get that's full replacement. That the business it's not, it's almost like our own employer experience where they usually have 2 or 3 options, one of which is they introduce the high deductible plan, and the uptake on that in the first year is typically low, maybe 10 to 20%, and then the second year it usually it can double to 20 to 40%, and then by the third year you're almost reaching full replacement levels. So, and sometimes in that third year, the employer is actually making that decision to just go full replacement. So it's a gradual, type early adopter type approach.
Well, Kurt, listen, these segments run pretty fast, and we're at the end of this one, and we certainly appreciate your time, this program, and to our audience, you can find HSA Bank in the corporate member area on our website. And Kurt, you have a great weekend, and I really, really appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you both.
Bye.